Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast presented by Manly Bands. Josh All, your host today, coming to you a couple days here after yet another humiliating Browns loss. Another one in Pittsburgh, 22 straight in Pittsburgh. I was talking to my wife the other day and I said, I was like, 13 or 14 years old or something like that the last time the Browns actually won a game in Pittsburgh. Like, I couldn't even drive yet. And she said, well, does that make you feel old? I said, old and kind of stupid, honestly, for continuing on with this team. But that's just how the fandom works with the Cleveland Browns. We never give up. We never surrender. Thank you, Tim Allen from Galaxy Quest. But I'm telling you right now, this team is in dire straits. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about this team again. I seem to be doing this ongoing series, it seems like, every week, and I never planned for this. I never set out to do this. This was not scheduled. I was not intended to come on here every week and talk about how we need to get rid of Kevin Stefanski or fire this guy or get rid of this regime. But that's just kind of what it has turned into. But I feel like I've beat the Kevin Stefanski horse to complete pulp. Like, it's dead. And, Blake and I argue about it every week. So we don't need to really talk too much about that today. Today, I think we need to take a deeper dive behind the scenes into what could possibly be the major issue with the Browns. And this does go to Kevin and AB and everything. But, Blake said something the other night on the show that got me thinking. He mentioned root causes. Something about root causes of why the team is so bad. And I think it's maybe a different direction than what he was talking about. And it's a direction that I've done episodes on before. I've talked about this before in the past. I feel like I do this at least once every season. And I'm going to talk about Paul DePodesta today, mainly. So we're going to dive into the architect of destruction for this Cleveland Browns organization and the roster that this current regime inherited in 2020 and what they have done to it since then. It's crazy when you go back and you actually look at all of this. So we're going to go through all of that stuff. We got Mike Tomlin's comments, which really kicked off this whole thing. I'll talk about that too here in a second, and a voicemail to dive into next. But before I do, make sure you guys go to jointhedogs.com to become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. If you want to sync it up with the private Discord, you can actually get on the Dog Pack Live or Dog Pack Discord live shows. We do the preview every Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern. So get in there. You can come up on stage. It's like a live radio show. You can call in, essentially, is what it's like. You can talk to us. You can ask questions. You can give your perspective on the Browns, whatever you want to do. It's the preview for the upcoming game, but the show really revolves around you guys. Again, this is a podcast for the fans, by the fans. You're the fans. We're the fans. Let's do this thing because we are all in this together. All right, so before I go into Mike Tomlin's comments and all of that stuff, I need to play this voicemail that was sent in the other day from Kurt.
Hey guys, Kurt from Jersey, Cleveland Browns fan since 1988, so I've seen some things. I just started listening to you guys around the draft. But what I want to say is we knew the offense was going to be dog shit this year. You guys knew it. Everyone knew it. The big surprise this year is how bad our defense is. You keep saying that it's the number one defense. It's not. It's just not. It's horrible. I can't even imagine. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I can't imagine this is the top 10 defense this year. The amount of points this team has given up is ridiculous. And I know one of you guys is in real estate, and if you walked into a house this bad, what would you say? You would say, gut it. Gut it from the top to the bottom. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but that's what's got to happen. This team's got to be gutted. I'm talking Myles Garrett. I'm talking everybody's got to go, except for this class of rookies. Leave the class of rookies alone, but everybody else, get the fuck out of town. Sorry for swearing. Later, guys.
You are forgiven for swearing, but again, Browns fan, swearing is acceptable. Sometimes absolutely necessary. Totally get it. So here's what I'll say about the defense. And we've harped on the defense on the show. Blake has really harped on them the last couple of weeks. I mean, there's no denying, yes, they gave up a game-winning touchdown drive to Carson Wentz, 3 backup linemen, all that kind of stuff. In London, they got gashed and just pretty much manhandled by the Steelers over in Pittsburgh. And then the week before all of that, they got totally embarrassed by the Lions in Detroit. If you go back to what I said last week about the defense, on the preview show, I think it was, I posted this on Twitter and Facebook and everything. The defense, when we're saying number one defense, they were. They were. If you've heard us talk about the Browns defense as the number one defense in the league, elite defense, all that stuff, they were. That was factual. That was a true statement after 3 weeks of the NFL season. Because if you think about it, I said, this defense is elite at home in Cleveland. On the road, no, they're not. And that's exactly how it was in 2023. We had that historic defense. The caveat, at home, not on the road. And the last 3 weeks, almost a full month now, we've watched this team, this defense, on the road. We were in Detroit, we were in London, and then we were in Pittsburgh. So that is why the defense that the recency bias, the most familiar, thing that we have with this defense is them not playing very well. They have been on the road. Go all the way back to the last time they played at home. The only game this season they managed to win was because the defense at home against Green Bay was elite. The defense at home, week 1 against the Bengals, was elite. Should have won that game. Over in Baltimore, not quite so elite. Baltimore was aided heavily by our offense and just how inept we are on that side of the ball. But still, you still have to score, and our defense still let them. So there are things to consider there with the defense. We'll see how true this whole, and I'm not saying it's not true because the stats show that they are very good at home, not very good on the road. We'll see if the trend holds true this week because we are back home. We are against a lesser opponent in the Miami Dolphins. Like the teams we've played so far this year really are better than them. So let's see how this defense looks against Tua, against this Dolphins, offense and everything. The Dolphins have only scored less than 20 points one time this year. They're 1-5, but 4 out of their 5 games, they have scored over 20 points. I think 3 of those games, they were at 27, almost 30 points. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. We'll talk about the Dolphins matchup on Thursday. Thank you, Kurt, for the voicemail. I appreciate hearing from everybody. I love hearing from new people that call in that they've wanted to before and they never have. If you want to call in, leave a voicemail and have us talk about it on the show. It's it's thedogspodcast.com. There's a leave voicemail option in the drop down menu. Just click that, record your message. You can listen to it back if you don't like how it sounds or you messed up or whatever. Just erase it, record a new one, and send that one. Like it's very easy to do. So thedogspodcast.com, leave voicemail if you want to get your thoughts and opinions and stuff on the show. So a couple of notes to discuss here. Obviously, we saw yesterday the Titans fired head coach Brian Callahan after going 4-19 in the last 2 seasons, which, by the way, is the same record as Kevin Stefanski with the Browns in the same time frame. The big news out of this, though, his dad, Bill Callahan, the O-line coach who used to be the Browns O-line coach, has also left the team after his son was fired. So, a lot of speculation online. Could the Browns bring back Bill Callahan to be the offensive line coach again for the Browns? I don't know how all of that works. To name him the actual O-line coach, you'd have to fire Mike Bloomgren. I don't know if that's something the Browns are even thinking about doing or would want to do or anything like that. Could they bring him in as like an offensive line consultant role? Of course, they could do stuff like that or however they want to assign him to the staff. Does Bill Callahan even want to come back to Cleveland? I don't know why he would. I don't know if he could actually fix this offensive line mess that we have found ourselves in. Again, we have these aging linemen. In my opinion, we have a very poor offensive scheme that doesn't set anybody up for success whatsoever. My opinion, not everybody's, but that's just the way I see it. And we've done nothing in the draft whatsoever to try and plan for the future or build up any sort of real depth for this offensive line. So I don't know. I don't know if it's feasible for Bill Callahan to come back, if it's practical, and if it would even matter. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you want to see Bill back? I mean, obviously, we always like to go back to the ex-girlfriend type thing and say, hey, things were so great, until they come back and you realize, okay, maybe we just need to move forward, keep moving forward here. But Bill Callahan was very good for the Browns when he was coaching here in Cleveland. But again, that was also when we had Nick Chubb, and we talk about all the time, maybe hid a lot of deficiencies for this offensive line. So who knows? I don't think there's anything right now that could possibly fix this offense. Sorry, Shedeur Sanders fans. I like the kid, and we'll talk about him too here later on. Actually, we're going to talk about him next.
One of the hardest parts of getting older is feeling like something's off in your body, but not knowing exactly what. It's not just aging. It's often your hormones too. When they fall out of balance, everything feels off. But here's the good news. This doesn't have to be the story of your next chapter. Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth is an herbal formula made with science-backed ingredients designed to fine-tune your hormones by balancing estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and even stress hormones like cortisol. It helps with common issues such as hot flashes, poor sleep, low energy, bloating, and more. With over 40,000 reviews and a bottle sold every 24 seconds, the results speak for themselves. A survey found 86% of women lost weight, 77% saw an improved mood, and 100% felt like themselves again. Start your next chapter feeling balanced and in control. For a limited time, get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com with code NEXTCHAPTER at checkout. Visit happymammoth.com today and get your old self back naturally.
This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Browns fans, if you're looking for manly rings and manly things, head over to manlybands.com/dogs, DAWGS, and check out everything Manly Bands has to offer. And right now, get 35% off site-wide with promo code PRIME. That's PRIME. They've got rings out of every material you could possibly be looking for. They've even got stuff you're not looking for, like meteorite and dinosaur bone. They've got collections like their awesome Lord of the Rings themed bands. They've got DC Comics and Jeep and Jack Daniel's whiskey barrel bands. And they've also got great gifts for men like barware, chains, bracelets. They've got retirement gifts. They've got shot glasses. They've got lighters. They've got all kinds of things. So head over to manlybands.com/dogs. Use that promo code PRIME to get 35% off site-wide today. That's manlybands.com/dogs, promo code PRIME. I just don't know. I just don't know if anybody can do anything in this offense, which... Let's go over here. Let's go over to these Mike Tomlin comments from yesterday. This stuff went viral online, and there's no way that he knew they or didn't know they would. I'll tell you what the comments were here in a second. If you didn't hear them, I'll read it for you. He was in a press conference. He was being asked about the Browns trading Joe Flacco before Monday last week ahead of the Steelers game and all that stuff. His response was very interesting, and you can't convince me it was not calculated and it was not intentional what he said. So here were his words. Might as well say them so you guys know what we're talking about if you didn't hear it. Mike Tomlin asked about Joe Flacco being traded to the Bengals, and he said, quote, Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feeling. Now, the questions went rampant online. Why is Mike Tomlin, decorated future Hall of Fame head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, taking a shot at Browns general manager Andrew Berry? Now, the Steelers, this is one side of it that I kind of think too. Like, the Steelers have the division lead right now. They're 4-1. They've got a clear runaway path to the division and to a playoff berth. The Ravens are not going to, Aaron Butler. It ain't happening, brother. Ravens are not going to the playoffs. As long as you're starting Cooper Rush on the offensive side of the ball paired with the league worst defense. You guys suck on defense, by the way, Ravens. You suck. Browns fan talking about sucking. I know, it's hilarious, but you do. you're not going to the playoffs. You're not going to win enough games. Your record is going to be bad enough by the time Lamar Jackson gets back on the field. You're out of this thing. You're going to be out of this thing. Even with Lamar, you're going to play enough good teams down the stretch that defense is going to cost you games. You're not going to the playoffs. The Bengals, on the other hand, well, I don't think they're going to the playoffs either. They're a little closer. They're like a game ahead or whatever in the division. And maybe Mike Tomlin was a little salty that the Browns sent obviously Joe Flacco is not great, but hey, I'm sorry. We sent a capable enough veteran quarterback to a team with very good offensive weapons to help them hopefully turn around their season and possibly compete for the division. Maybe. I mean, that's the hope when you make that kind of a trade. So maybe Mike Tomlin looked at that as like a divisional thing saying, what are you helping them out for? Like, screw you guys. I hate that you did that. Totally see that. I've also seen people speculating that he was actually defending Kevin Stefanski with this statement, throwing some shade at the Browns front office. He called Andrew Berry out by name and made a statement, again, like I said, that he knew would make headlines. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me. And he says it the day after Andrew Berry's team was just humiliated once again by Mike Tomlin's team. And then something kind of hit me, and I remembered Paul DePodesta, the forgotten hidden man behind the curtain of everything the Browns have screwed up and done since he was hired as the chief strategy officer for the Cleveland Browns in 2016. Paul freaking DePodesta, the creator, the originator of the moneyball method to running a baseball team. Then I went down a whole other path here, started thinking about things and connecting some dots in my head. So if you'll indulge me, walk along this path with me, comment below wherever you're watching, listening. Let's have this conversation. I started remembering some of these moneyball strategies that Paul DePodesta used while he was in Oakland with the Athletics. And one of those strategies stuck out to me immediately after Mike Tomlin's comments here. So that strategy, that tactic, if the coach of the team, and this was the Oakland Athletics at the time, the baseball team, but this happened before. If the coach of the team is unwilling to play a player that you, meaning you, Paul DePodesta, or the GM, the front office, whatever, if the coach is not playing a player that you want the coach to play, then you simply trade away whoever he is playing, and you leave the coach with no choice but to play the player that you want. They did this in Oakland. Case in point in this situation with the Browns, Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders. So Dillon Gabriel had already been named the starter, obviously ahead of the Minnesota game in London last week. And if we go back, we remember that there have been reports that Dillon Gabriel in the draft was Kevin Stefanski's pick. He was that was Kevin's guy. Shedeur Sanders has been reported that he was an Andrew Berry pick. Okay. We can do conspiracy theories like about this stuff all we want, but the overall attitude toward these players from a coaching standpoint throughout all spring and summer, very interesting. It was always the same sentiment. It was Dillon is more ready. Dillon is the guy. Dillon's taking first team reps, even though every reporter at camp says he does not look good. He does not look like an NFL quarterback. Shedeur Sanders, meanwhile, always held at QB4 on the depth chart, throwing to water boys, practicing by himself on a separate field. We can go back and we remember all this stuff. It all happened. Flash forward to now. Kevin Stefanski promotes his guy, Dillon Gabriel, to the starter position, which, again, we all thought was the right move. Joe Flacco wasn't doing anything for the offense. Might as well move on, see what the rookie has. Okay, I'm not saying that was a bad decision, but this is what happened. His guy is now moved into, Kevin's guy is now moved into the starter spot. But he does not promote Andrew Berry's guy to the backup quarterback. He keeps Joe Flacco then, who just got demoted, still as the backup. The very next week after Kevin decides that Joe is the backup quarterback, where's Joe Flacco? Gone. He's in Cincinnati. gone. As soon, like, it just, if you connect these dots, I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm saying it's interesting the way it happened in historical context to what Paul DePodesta and his front office in Oakland did in the past. The second that, as soon as Kevin Stefanski says Joe Flacco is the backup and not Shedeur Sanders, the very next week, Joe Flacco is gone. Very interesting to me. And then, here's where things get even better. As soon as Joe Flacco is out of the picture, does Kevin Stefanski do the obvious thing and then just confirm Shedeur Sanders as the new backup when he's asked about it? No, he doesn't. He refuses to commit to Shedeur, leaving that door wide open for the practice squad quarterback Bailey Zappi to potentially get called up and be the backup. Now, this obviously created headlines and more controversy that, was really unnecessary, and it got highlighted yesterday by former Browns cornerback Joe Hayden, star cornerback, first-round pick by the Browns way back when. Joe Hayden was on Honor the Land on Big Play, and here's what he had to say. He said, you have your top leadership playing with Shedeur, playing games with Shedeur. Why are you not saying he's going to be the backup immediately? Joe Hayden said, that's lack of leadership. That's making questions. That's making things that don't need to be talked about. Pretty strong perspective coming from a former player, a former star player from this team who also did play for the Steelers. Now, I'm not trying to do the whole rift between the coaching staff and the front office thing because I want or I like the drama or I want to create this. That's not what I'm doing. If you guys watch this show, you know that I hate this freaking drama. I just want a team that is capable of winning football games. But I'd also feel like a very bury my head in the sand fan if I didn't at least question everything that has happened and everything that we've seen since the draft. So, did Andrew Berry trade Joe Flacco to force Kevin Stefanski to move Shedeur up the depth chart? Now, obviously, turning a 6th-round pick into a 5th-round pick was the result of that deal, and that's cool. That's great. That's a good outcome. But was there also another benefit of the trade from Andrew Berry's perspective? I mean, we've seen Dillon Gabriel now in 2 games in Kevin's offense, and guys, it doesn't look any different than if it was Deshaun Watson, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Joe Flacco playing quarterback. I mean, am I wrong? Does it look any different than when those guys played quarterback in this offense? Kevin said that this was the guy to run his offense. And it just looks as pitiful as ever. Short throws, dink and dunks, missing open guys, making wrong reads, running the wrong plays, sailing passes out of bounds. My goodness, I know we knocked Dillon for those, but how many Deshaun Watson passes did we watch just fly 5 yards over Amari Cooper's head? Joe Flacco sailed passes in his starts this year. What's going on with this offense? So, was trading Joe Flacco the only way to ensure that Shedeur Sanders was closer to seeing the field? And was Kevin's refusal to commit to Sanders initially as the QB2 his way of showing some defiance toward Andrew Berry and that trade? Again, it's all speculation. All speculation. It's a little bit conspiracy theory-ish, borderline there as well. But got to ask the questions. Got to ask the questions because nothing this team does, nothing they do is normal. Nothing. So we got to ask the questions. And again, now, we need to talk about Paul DePodesta and this moneyball strategy, okay? Because this tactic of trading players to control the depth chart positioning from within the front office level is a real tactic. Paul DePodesta and his front office have used this tactic in the past. Now, I did, this was a little bit, maybe a year ago or so, I actually bought the Moneyball book and I was reading it. I didn't get very far. I just, we had a baby. We've got a new house we're building and all this. We got a lot of life stuff going on. I'm doing the podcast. I'm doing all the other things for my business. I just never got around to reading or finishing the book. But I've done a lot of, reading some articles and breaking down the Moneyball theory. I want to go back and actually read through the book. And once I do finish the book, I will do an episode or a series of episodes based on my reading of the Moneyball book. But I do want to read a couple things that I found online here. The Moneyball theory, listen to this, is a baseball strategy, okay? A baseball strategy. Once I go through some of this stuff real quick about Moneyball, there's no denying, like you cannot deny that the Browns are implementing Moneyball, baseball, theory, elements, whatever you want to call it, onto their football team. They are. Okay. So the Moneyball theory is a baseball strategy that uses data and statistical analysis to identify undervalued players, enabling teams with low payrolls to compete with wealthier ones. Instead of relying on traditional statistics like batting average, it emphasizes metrics such as on-base percentage and slugging percentage as better predictors of a player's contribution to winning. Popularized by the Oakland Athletics general manager Billy Beane, the theory positions that a player's worth can be measured by their ability to get on base and hit for power, regardless of conventional wisdom or perceived flaws. That part right there was what was very important and stuck out to me. Regardless of conventional wisdom or perceived flaws. That stuff does not work in football. That does not work in football. Another thing that I wanted to read verbatim here. The idea behind Moneyball was that Paul DePodesta devised a method to find and make use of undervalued players based on statistical variables that had largely been ignored earlier. His goal was to create a framework which would increase the likelihood of the Oakland A's making it to the playoffs. He began by stating the somewhat intuitive claim that the probability of any team making it to the playoffs depended on the number of games they won in their regular season. Wow, Ivy League education put to good use. Hence, in order to make it to the playoffs, he had to devise a method to not only discover how many games the team needed to get to that point, but also to find the optimal team structure that would give the Oakland A's just enough wins to make it through. Just enough wins to make it through. The philosophy of Moneyball is to get by with as little as you can to do just enough to make it into the playoffs, to win just enough to make it to the postseason. That doesn't work in football. First of all, the theory is flawed. You cannot have, to get into the playoffs in the NFL, you've got to be good. Very rarely can you just luck your way, or I shouldn't even say luck. Can you do the minimum and get yourself in there? And even if you do, you're done. You will be a first round exit because you're not going to be good enough to compete with everybody else that's in there. This episode is sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University. Browns fans, do you ever feel stuck in your current job? Like if you just had a different degree or some more education in a certain area, you could do something you really want to do. Well, Southern New Hampshire University has the answers for you. Head over to snhu.edu/bark to learn how you can get started on your new career today. SNHU is one of the largest online accredited universities in the United States, and it's radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Head over to snhu.edu/bark to learn how you can get started on your degree for your new career, 100% online and 100% on your time. snhu.edu/bark. Here are the core principles of the Moneyball theory. Number one, data over instinct. Boom. Where are the alarm bells now, guys? Think of this right here is what the Browns do. This is what the Browns do. Data over instinct. We talk all the time. We need football guys. We need people who can evaluate football talent. Can the guys play football? All this and that. No, this is now data over instinct. Replacing traditional scouting methods. Seriously, if I had alarm bell sound effect right now available real quick, I'd be smashing the hell out of that thing. Replacing traditional scouting methods and gut feelings with advanced statistical analysis and quantitative data. That's what the Browns do. They've replaced traditional scouting methods and gut feelings. Like, I just got a gut feeling this guy can play football. Nope, forget all that nonsense. We're going to use advanced statistical analysis and quantitative data. Great job. It's working not well at all. Number 2, core principle of Moneyball theory, identifying undervalued assets. Again, this is what the Browns try to do all the time, focusing on metrics that are not widely considered, but have a significant correlation with desired outcomes, such as on-base percentage in baseball. Well, I don't know what those metrics are in football, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Number 3 here, strategic decision-making, using data to pinpoint areas of strength and weakness, allowing for more efficient allocation of resources and building a stronger team. This is where the Deshaun Watson trade and contract comes into play, the strategic decision-making. We can do this. We can give up 3 first-round picks. We can allocate this large portion of our salary cap each year to Deshaun Watson because we can get the same level of production at these other positions from finding our hidden gems. We don't need a first-round wide receiver. We can get a wide receiver that can do the same thing as a first-round wide receiver. We can get that guy in the 3rd round. Well, no, you can't. Or at least if you were good at drafting, yeah, you could have gotten your Amon-Ra St. Brown or your Puka Nacua, but you guys suck at talent evaluation, and you draft Anthony Schwartz and David Bell. So it does not work in football. Again, the de-emphasis on traditional scouting practices was the freaking alarm bell just going crazy in my head. Higher emphasis on deeper metrics for players in specific areas rather than scouting based on the player's size or overall athletic ability or capabilities on the field. That's why you get an Anthony Schwartz who can run freaking fast on a track but can't do anything on a football field. That's why that happens. That is exactly why that happens. The problem with Moneyball, I've said it over and over, and I'll say it again, it does not work in football. It can't. And here's why. Moneyball focuses on individual metrics that help predict a player's success. Yeah, that's actually pretty easy to do in baseball. Baseball is a largely individual sport. Think about it. Baseball is a team sport comprised of no less than 27 individual matchups that each take place on their own. Isolated individual matchups. That is how the game is played. Your team gets 27 outs before the game is over. Every matchup is an individual performance between one of your hitters and the other team's pitcher. That's the game of baseball. It is a team sport with all individual performances. Football is nowhere close to baseball. Football is the ultimate team sport. We say it all the time. It is comprised, unlike baseball, football is comprised of 11 individual assignments all taking place simultaneously at the same exact time. You have 11 players on the field at once, and if one player screws up their assignment, the play fails. Like 90% of the time, the entire play will fail if just one player screws up. Now, what if you got 2 or 3 players screwing up? And all 11 players in football can't actually do their jobs and do their assignments correctly. And then a wide receiver drops a pass. Play failed. The running back didn't see the lane. Play failed. The quarterback made the wrong read. Play failed. It is such a game of nuance that you cannot base your entire team building structure on individual metrics alone. It will not work. You cannot moneyball your way to success in football. It sure as hell not in the NFL. But damn it, the Browns have fully committed to Paul DePodesta and trying to create a moneyball strategy that can work in the NFL. Except, like I said, it's impossible. It can't be done. And that's why we can fire Kevin, which I think we need to. We can fire the front office, which I think we need to. But nothing is going to change until Paul DePodesta is far away from this football team. And I don't just mean distance in miles, because this loser is already 2,400 miles away from Cleveland in San Diego. I need him fired and no longer associated in any way, shape, or form with the Browns. And I know there's people out there that'll say, Paul DePodesta isn't making all the decisions. He's just the chief strategy officer. He's not in the building, all this stuff. Guys, he is the creator of the Moneyball theory, of the Moneyball practice, the method, the strategy. Who do you think's implementing this? And this is why you can safely remove this entire Ivy League brain trust from the football team, because they are all in this strategy together. DePodesta, Harvard guy. Andrew Berry, Harvard guy. Kevin Stefanski went to Penn. These guys are all in this Ivy League brain trust of this money league strategy together. They think this can work. They think this can work. This team needs actual football guys who know football and they know football players. We need to get back to scouting players based on their football tape, what you see on the field, and not just their predictive quantitative metrics and identifying analytics and all that BS. Can they freaking play football? That's all that matters. And that is why you see so few of Andrew Berry's draft picks actually on the field right now, making any sort of impact for the Browns. Moneyball is all about finding hidden gems at a lower price point, finding guys who cost less but can perform the same as higher paid players. Again, that may work, and they made it work in baseball, but it doesn't work in football. Andrew Berry has had 2 first-round picks before this season. Neither one of those players is on the team or got an extension with the Browns. Jed Wills and then Greg Newsome. Both of them gone. Now, Andrew Berry nailed the first 2 second-round picks he ever had. He took Grant Delpit, and the next year he took J.O.K. These dudes were both good football players. They worked out in the NFL. His next couple second-round picks, he used them on Elijah Moore in a trade and Mike Hall. Mike Hall, who's been practicing all season yet hasn't been active for a single game yet. What the hell's going on there? We'll be diving into some Michael Hall stuff probably here shortly, I would imagine. I doubt he plays this week too. Anyway, third-round picks for Andrew Berry are pretty much a complete bust all around. Jordan Elliott, Jacob Phillips, Anthony Schwartz, David Bell, Siaki Ika, maybe Cedric Tillman, Zach Zinter. And Zach Zinter, man, how bad do you have to be a healthy scratch each week as an offensive lineman on this team? Man, he's got to be bad. Third-round picks that have worked out okay. Martin Emerson Jr., Alex Wright, and so far this year, Harold Fannin look like they are good players that Andrew Berry was able to hit on in the third round. But again, are they long-term assets for the team? Martin Emerson, Alex Wright, last year their deals. Don't know if they end up getting extensions here in Cleveland. This is what I'm talking about. The draft is where you find these players that you can build your team and get not just some value out of their rookie contract, but get the extension. I'm not talking big contract deals. Could we get Alex Wright on a 2 or 3 year extension on whatever price point he's at? Well, probably. Will they? I don't know. They haven't with anybody yet. Anybody. So it's been 6 years with this regime, and all that they've done, and I see this point made all the time, and I fully agree, all they've done is destroy what was a very strong roster they inherited. The list: Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, David Njoku, Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, J.C. Treader, Myles Garrett, Olivier Vernon, Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, Christian Kirksey, Joe Schobert, Sione Takitaki. That was the core of your team. That you came in here and this is what was handed to you. And they could not win with that team. Not only could they not win with that team, they dismantled that team. And they've replaced that team with nothing. Just nothing. I just want to go through some of these real quick before I'm going to wrap this up. I don't want to continue to harp on this. Berry's 2021 draft, after he took Greg Newsome and JOK, was Anthony Schwartz, James Hudson, Tommy Togiai, Tony Fields, Richard LeCount, Demetric Felton. None of those guys are on the team anymore. 2022, after Martin Emerson and Alex Wright, he went David Bell, Perrion Winfrey, Cade York, Jerome Ford, Michael Woods, Isaiah Thomas, Dawson Deaton. Why even accumulate extra draft picks each year at all if this is who you're going to use it on? None of those guys are helping the team right now. 2023, just 2 years ago, we should still have players doing things on the field from 2023, right? Cedric Tillman, not on the field. Siaki Ika, DeJuan Jones, not on the field. Again, Isaiah McGuire, okay, seems like maybe a decent pick. DTR, Cam Mitchell, Luke Whippler, none of these guys are helping us on the field. 2024, surely we have players, some players from just last year who are helping us on the field now, right? No, none, not a single one. Michael Hall, Zach Zinter, Jamari Thrash, Buki Watson, Miles Harden, Jawan Briggs, none of them are helping the team on the field right now, just a year later. And then we come to this year, 2025. Obviously, it starts with Mason Graham. And I know we crowned this guy after like 1 or 2 weeks, but the interior of our defensive line has been getting gashed recently. This Mason Graham, I don't know about you guys, I feel like he's nowhere to be found. I forget that he's even out there. Defensive tackle, I understand, is more difficult to transition to the NFL. But at the same time, Andrew Berry said you were a top 5 pick. I need more out of you as a top 5 pick than what we are getting currently. Carson Schlesinger looks like a perennial Pro Bowler. He was an obvious one. He is a football player. I expected this dude to be great. Quinshon Judkins. It didn't take any genius to draft Quinshon Judkins. We watched him at Ohio State. We followed his career at Ole Miss. We knew this guy was a good football player. Harold Fannin Jr. is a good football player. He just needs the suck removed from his team because he is currently infected by the suck. He can't catch the ball, which is a problem he did not have in college. As soon as he gets to Cleveland, all of a sudden, can't catch. Is it a Fannin thing or is it a culture thing? I'll let you guys decide on that one. How about Dylan Gabriel, the next pick from 2025 here? He's gotten 2 starts. I get it. Got to give him time. Can't make a judgment after just 2 games. Yada, 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 guys. We probably look back on this in a year or 2 and say, yeah, that was a wasted pick. That's just the most likely outcome. How about Dylan Sampson? I don't know. The kid had a huge first game and has been a complete non-factor in the offense ever since then. We like the talent, but again, football's a team sport with no isolated individual performances. We need more. And the last pick of AB's tenure so far was Shedeur Sanders. So we will see. We have the hope. We have the hype. He's the only one with the potential to be the guy at quarterback for the Browns. But can he actually be the guy for this team with this roster, with this coaching staff, and this front office? I love the kid. I think he's got great potential, but the odds are definitely not in his favor. So let me know what you guys think about this whole Moneyball situation that the Browns have found themselves in. We get very caught up. I'm guilty of this. I'll be the first one to admit it. I get very caught up in finger pointing at AB, finger pointing at Kevin Stefanski, Jim Schwartz, Bubba Ventrone, all these coaching staff, these players, the personnel. I'll point fingers at every single one of them. And I keep forgetting about Paul DePodesta in the background doing his little analytical things out there with his Harvard education in San Diego. Screw you, man. I'm sick and tired of Paul DePodesta. Get him out of here. He doesn't need to be associated with this team anymore. And that's why everybody involved in this Moneyball strategy has got to go. Clean it out. Gut it. Get rid of it. Going back to what Kurt said, I know he was talking about the roster, gutting the roster, but you need to gut this freaking organization from this Moneyball infection that is just keep it in baseball. You devised a strategy that had success in baseball. Keep it there. This is not the same sport. And I'm sick and tired of having to do episodes and talk about Paul DePodesta and how he screwed up this team since 2016. Okay. He was the architect of 1-31. And Hugh Jackson and that roster was just the executioner. They executed the 1-31 plan. Paul DePodesta is now the architect of what is 4-21. 4-21 over the last 25 games. And Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, these guys are just executing that plan. They are the motion people. Let's put this plan, this losing plan into place. Try to accumulate picks, and we'll try to find hidden gems based on our predictive, quantitative, analytics, and we'll build a rocket ship and go to space. You guys are freaking idiots. Freaking idiots. But you guys watching the show, I love you guys. So thank you for tuning in. You guys are the best. Let me know in the comments. Are you guys tired of hearing me talk about getting rid of the front office and this regime and the coaching staff and stuff? Do you just want me to go back to talking stats for the team from the previous game, which is what I used to do on Tuesdays? It just has morphed into much more this year. Either way, I love doing the show for you guys. I love everybody tuning in. Agree with me, disagree with me. I don't care. Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, I just can't. There's too many comments between, all the social medias, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything, TikTok. I can't respond to every single comment, but trust me, I go through, I see them, I read them, I bring some of them onto the show. Some of your comments I might not even respond to, but it actually kicks me into putting a show doc together for an entire topic around your comment. I've done that before. So let me know what you guys think. Drop your voicemails. We'll do the live show in the Discord to preview the Dolphins game on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to be part of that, head to jointhedogs.com, sign up on the Patreon. It's just $5 a month. It's a cup of coffee, essentially, that you donate to us one time a month. It's no big deal, really. But to us, it is. It is a big deal to us, and we appreciate everybody contributing to the podcast, helping us grow, and being a part of this journey. So thank you guys. We love you. And again, we'll see you on Thursday when we preview the Browns hosting the Miami Dolphins, the clash of 1 and 5. Which head coach might get fired first between Stefanski and Mike McDonald? We'll see. Or Mike McDaniel, sorry. We'll see how it goes. We'll talk about it Thursday. See you guys in the next one.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
BetterHelp. Browns fans, if you're like me, the stresses in life only increase the older you get. Your family, your job, your bank account, just a few things that drive the cycle of stress every day. And if you have people constantly depending on you, it can put a heavy weight on your mental health. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Why does no one appreciate everything I'm trying to do for them? If these thoughts have ever darkened your day, 1, you're not alone, and 2, I highly recommend talking to someone, and that's where BetterHelp could be the right resource for you. Head to BetterHelp, HELP.com/dogs, DAWGS for 10% off your first month of talk therapy. Just fill out a simple questionnaire and BetterHelp will match you with the best therapist for your needs. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists at any time for no extra cost. BetterHelp is 100% online. You can talk with your therapist on the phone, via face chat, or even through text message. Your therapist will listen, ask questions, and help you see things from new perspectives. So what are you waiting for? Take the first step to making positive improvements in your life. Head to BetterHelp.com/dogs now for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/dogs for 10% off your first month.